All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. I have a special guest that I have known for quite some time, Reggie Smith. He is a retired NBA player, and we're going to go through some questions on how he got to where he was and the challenges that he overcame. And as you all know that are listening to this call, I either coach you, I run your companies, or I'm turning your company around. And I think that one of the things that we've failed to recognize is that as we go through our day-to-day life, there are people that are in very high-profile positions that have gone through exactly what we go through on a day-to-day basis. And so I want to welcome Reggie Smith to the call today.
Hello.
Hi, Reg. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. So we've known each other for a long time, 24 years.
Wow, that is a long time.
It's gross. So 24 years, and we have been through a lot of different changes in our lives, but I know that your changes really started when you were in high school, and you grew really rapidly during your sophomore and senior year. And you'd always been a soccer player up until that time. And all of a sudden, you became this really tall guy. So what challenges did that growth and changing sports present to you when you decided to go to basketball?
Well, I mean, growing up as, an athlete and playing different sports and stuff like that. Initially, I was a soccer player, like you said. And, I really got burnt out on soccer. I continued, I was growing, I was awkward. I was frustrated, and so I told my dad, I said, hey, I'm done, right? Soccer isn't fun anymore, and I want to try something new. And so we kind of talked about it, and then I came home one day. I said, hey, they've had basketball tryouts, but I missed them, so I guess I'll have to wait out another year. And so my dad said no. He got in the car, took me down to the gym, and my dad's 6'7", pretty intimidating, and walked up to the coach and said, hey, I want my son to be able to try out. And the coach looked at me, looked at him. He's like, sure. And he put me on the team, and I was absolutely terrible. I was at that age, honestly, I mean, I think it was my freshman year, 8th grade, 9th grade or something like that. I was maybe 5'10", 5'11". I hadn't shown signs of that I was going to be extremely tall or anything like that. So, but I was, I was a little bit taller than everyone else. So, so the coach gave me a spot, gave me a uniform. I got my first pair of high tops, and but no, I mean, at that time I had no idea what I was doing. But I got an opportunity, right? And so, and I just ran with it from there.
I love that. I love that you said opportunity. I know this isn't part of the questions that I sent you, but I think a lot of times people don't understand the opportunities that have been given to them, and they actually ignore them. So fantastic. So you took that opportunity, you ran with it. I know a little bit about you. I know a little bit about your family. I know your dad's played a huge role in your life. And my question for you is, you're given this opportunity in high school. What disciplines did you have to actually put into place during that time that contributed you getting into TCU and playing for them? What was your daily disciplines like?
Okay, so and I preach this today, right? So my kids, anyone I know, anyone I've coached, take advantage of the opportunity, right? Something was put in front of me, and it was new. I wasn't good at it, but I took advantage of it, right? So I didn't just show up to practice and just do the drills or do the training that the coach put in front of me. I knew I was behind the curve, and so I took it upon myself to go to the blacktop and work on my basketball game, go to any open gym. I had my mom buy me a weight set. You remember the weight sets that used to be filled up with sand? She went to Target, brought that home, put it in the garage because I wasn't strong. So I did all those things, right? So and still, my freshman, sophomore year, I still wasn't good, right? So my freshman year, I played a little bit, sat on the bench. My sophomore year, at one point, I was like, this coach won't play me. So I said, I'm going to quit, and I'm just going to go and do my own trainings and get stronger and do all these kind of things because I was frustrated, right? So me and my dad, we spoke, and he's like, that's not the route, right? You don't need to quit. Suck it up and fight through it. And so, but really not being good and not playing and sitting on the bench during those years, it just made me hungry, right? So it pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I've never been big on complaining, right? So if there's a problem, there's a solution, right? So I just took it upon myself to why all those other kids that are playing in front of me were going on vacation, going and, hanging out, doing nothing over the summer. I was working, right? And so the summer between my sophomore year and junior year, I was working, I was doing all this thing, but I was, still awkward. Like I was getting like knee pains, and I couldn't really figure out what was wrong with me. And it just felt like overnight, I woke up one day and I had grown from maybe 6'1" to 6'2" to 6'9", right? And so from that point on, it just like a perfect storm, right? I had work ethic, I had the body, the athleticism, and I just took advantage of it and ran with it from there.
That is so awesome. And so how did TCU get to see you? I mean, so here you are, you're working your butt off, you're not doing what all the other kids are doing, you're grinding is really what you were doing. And all of a sudden, where did TCU come in?
So here's the thing. So I'm 6'9", right? And so one day, this coach approached me and me and my dad said, "Hey, would your son be interested in playing AAU?" And really, I didn't even know what AAU basketball was. I don't think my dad knew. And so the next thing I know, my dad's writing this guy a check, and I'm getting in the back of this Cadillac, and we're going to, first of all, we're going to Oakland and picking up these kids, and we're going to, and at San Francisco, picking up a bunch of kids, and we end up at this huge tournament in LA, right? And so, I was a role player for the most part, but I had a good experience, good tournament, stuff like that. And I was playing against, kids like Alonzo Mourning, Sean Kemp, Chris Mills, some of the best competition in the country. So, and we're just a small team out of San Francisco, and we ended up winning the tournament in LA, and then coming and losing in overtime in Las Vegas, right? And so, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know there was college scouts and watching. I was just like, hey, I'm doing what I always do. I'm taking advantage of the opportunity. I'm playing basketball. I'm having a good time. And like Sean Kemp, the stuff that he was doing, as an NBA All-Star, he was trying to do that against us. I was like 17 years old, and the kid was, I don't know how old he was, but he was like a man-child. And so, I come back from the trip, and the next thing I know, my phone won't stop ringing. The mailman's there every day, and my parents are like, "What in the hell?
Wow.
What's going on?" And so, literally, I must have had maybe 50 to 60 different scholarship offers, and so it really started. Like I said, taking advantage of the opportunity, and I really didn't know what I was getting into. But you just have to have that foundation, right?
Yeah.
If you're a worker and you enjoy working, you can. When things get tough, you just kind of fall back there.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's such a huge leadership lesson, because so often people think, well, nobody's watching, so I'm going to kind of rest on my laurels. And what I heard you saying is, I am who I am, and from morning till night, and I didn't even know that people were watching, and I just got my hustle on. So I love that piece of it. So you're in TCU, you know that you're going to be recruited into the NBA, and so I'm going to jump ahead through your college years and talk about, you really thought that the Bulls were going to pick you up. You thought that that's where you were going, and so you flew out to Chicago. You had opportunity that you thought was going to come up, and all of a sudden, first-round draft pick, Shaquille O'Neal, a bunch of other guys start getting picked in that first round, and all of a sudden it's the second round, and you get picked up by the Portland Trail Blazers. Did you have disappointment that set in during that time?
Well, yeah, I was always just a Chicago Bulls fan, right? And so I didn't really know much about Portland, the team, and all that kind of stuff, right? So, I was happy to get drafted, right? I had put in a lot of work. And kind of just backing up, right? Going into TCU, I had no idea I could play at the next level until my freshman year, and my college coach, brought me in and told me, "Hey, son, you got a chance to play at the next. You have a chance to play in the NBA." And
wow.
So when someone tells you that, I took it to another level, right? So it was I was in the gym. I mean, I was in Texas, right? So if I wasn't up on the track before 5 a.m., there's no way I could get my condition in. And so I had my day planned, right? Like, hey, gym here, eat here, weights here, pick up basketball here, all those kind of things. And so it just, I put in the work, and right. And so just being blessed to get drafted, it was a great opportunity. But thankful to this day that the Trailblazers, snuck up one pick before the Bulls and drafted me. So.
Yeah, I love that you said that you got up at 5 a.m. I work with so many people that look at another company, for instance, and they'll say, oh my gosh, we want to be like that company. But what they don't realize is all the hard work that went into that prior to them being the successful company. And so you're up at 5 a.m., you're getting your conditioning in. How many hours a day when you were in college do you think you worked out and you really put towards your basketball career, knowing that this was a potential for you to go into the NBA? What do you think your hours were? Every day? How many hours?
Yeah, I didn't disconnect, right? If I was in my room and I wasn't studying, I had a basketball in my hand, right? I was doing push-ups, So, it's just, because when someone tells you, right, that you have an opportunity to do something that you love, right? Yeah. So it's just like, why not, go all in. Right? If someone believes in you and you have the opportunity, you have the resources and all that all I needed was, I was out there with the track team, I was out there with the football team, I was out there with, whoever, was training, I was there. I was in the weight room, all that kind of stuff. I mean, if they had a pool out there, I'd do it with the swim team. It was, but it was just, you just you take advantage of the opportunity. I tell my kids that I've coached, we might show up, like I would take my daughter's team, all these different AAU events and stuff, and they'd look at the team and they're like, God, they're big. I don't know if we can compete. And I'm like, look, take advantage of the opportunity, right? Test yourself. See where you fall in line with some of the best competition. And that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to play against the best competition. And that's what, getting drafted in the NBA, afforded me to do.
Wow, that's so cool. And so you were drafted 31st overall. And you hear the announcement that the Portland Trailblazers have picked Reggie Smith. What was the emotion that went through at that moment?
Well, honestly, it was relief, right? So I knew I was going to get drafted at that time. I just didn't know by whom and when, right? And so, I had a ton of people over watching it, and I'm like, God, it slipped into the second round, but that's fine. I've always been, that kind of underdog, right? That kind of been, bypassed, and this is just another opportunity, right? For me to show what I can do. And so, so they drafted me, and it was just like, it was just it was a big relief, right? Just all the hard work and dedication and sacrifices that I would make, and honestly, growing up as a kid, people would tell me that there's no way. I mean, I would go out and run on the track, and some of my buddies would sit out there and be like, dude, what are you doing? Come on, you're not going to play college. You're not going to play. Yeah, and so that's just like, honestly, to this day, I go, like, even when I work out and do things and condition and lift weights, I go to some dark places in my mind and think about some things that people said to me just to motivate me to get to where I need to be. Even if it's just getting through a weights class or a spin class or whatever it might be. It's just, it's just a mental thing.
Right. I always tell the people that I'm coaching as they get into really successful times, I always say, if you don't have at least 2 haters, you're not doing it right. So I love that you said that. So we know that you get picked by Portland Trailblazers. You are in the NBA now. And with that comes a lot of success extremely fast. And what I find when I'm coaching people is that when they turn that corner and they actually get to that place that they've been talking about, and I mean, what I want people to hear on this call is that it wasn't like you got into the NBA one day. You worked on this for 7-8 years to get into this place where your disciplines were so hard for 8 years that all of a sudden you get picked and all of a sudden success is there for you. The money's there. The cars are there. I know what kind of car you drove back then. So the cars are there. You have this amazing success that comes extremely fast. And there's so many emotions and changes that people go through. And I've watched it happen where there are people that take their success at this time and they just blow it because it's almost like they didn't believe they were worth it. And what I saw with you was that you really stepped into that, but you were a really responsible person during that time. So what do you think that as that success came on really fast, what do you think your biggest challenge was stepping into that spotlight?
Well, I mean, so when you get into the NBA, right? So it's not college, it's not high school, it's a business, right? So really, it's still. I mean, you just got to keep working. You can't relax, right? And so, and it is a business, and the guy that's probably making $5-10 million is probably going to play in front of you, and he's going to get those minutes. But still, I would go to the gym. I would stay extra. I would do the things that I needed to do to stay in shape, just in case I got that chance, right? And so, and I did. My rookie year, I didn't play, right? And it was frustrating to sit on the bench, but it made me hungry, right? So during the off season, I went and did the same stuff, working, lifting, running, thinking about all the guys that played in front of me. And I did get that opportunity my next year, right? So, I think I started 11 or 12. Games. Yeah, so I started, and it was a dream come true. And I mean, there's not a lot of people that can say that they got drafted and played in the NBA and also started, games in the NBA. Now, was I like a superstar? No. I mean, but I played my role, right? And so, and the team, right? Everyone has their role. You can't have everyone that's a scorer, a shot blocker, a rebounder. You just have to play your roles. And so, I think I took advantage of the opportunity and did what I needed to do.
That's awesome. So what I hear you saying, and what I want people to hear on this call, is that when the success came really fast at you and the limelight really started shining on you, in that moment you stayed focused and you said, I've got to stay focused because there's going to be people in front of me and there's always going to be somebody better than me. I've got to stay focused. I've got to really buckle down and actually keep my disciplines that you had created over the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and you stayed focused. And what would you do for somebody, or what would you coach them to do during a time when maybe the success becomes a distraction for them? How do they get back on track and get out of I call it the bright, shiny things of success? How do you keep them on track?
Well, you always got to stay focused, right? So really, it's about your foundation, right? So like you build a house, right, and the foundation's built correctly, right? There's not going to be any issues going down the road, right? So I always think back, So now I work in a cube, right? I'm on the phone, I'm on a computer, I talk to engineers all day, right? Yeah, it would be nice if I got it'd be nice, back in the day, to solve a problem, I just elbow someone or knock them to the ground, right? So I gotta take a different approach, right? I can't go around knocking people around in my company, right? So I have to think about things, right? So you gotta think outside the box, right? And still, when it all comes down to it, it's just work ethic, right? And so I'm a worker, right? And I don't disconnect, and I treat people how I want to be treated, and so and I feel I'm personable, and I think, and especially in the work environment, just having good interpersonal skills and not, trying to communicate, let's say, via email or text message. Sometimes it's just good to pick up the phone and have that conversation or get in front of people, right? And so, because when you do, sometimes when there's too much success, you have too much money, you relax, right? And you take shortcuts, right? And at some point, it's going to bite you in the butt. And you just can't take shortcuts. You have your foundation of what got you there, and you just, as hard as it might be, that's the right approach.
I love it. You kind of answered some of the questions that we were going to go into. Last question on that part of being with the Blazers. What was important about your day-to-day activities during the time that you were in the NBA? Because I know that you did get into international basketball, and I'm going to get into that, but what do you think was important about your day-to-day activities? Did you have a routine of any sort during that time that you never missed no matter what? And I'm not talking about the workouts. I'm talking about keeping your leadership skills ahead of the game. Was there anything that you did?
Well, just understanding, scouting reports and just understanding who we're going to be playing, who I might be playing against, and just, keeping, sometimes just being a couple days ahead, right? Planning my week, right? Okay, where am I going? Where are we traveling? Who am I going to be playing against? right? And because each team, each player, right? It's a different approach, right? You can't approach everything the same way. And so just understanding what I was going to get, what my week was going to look like, what my month was going to look like, and just taking care of myself.
That is really awesome. I love that. Okay, so we already addressed this, but I'm going to go back over this one more time because I think that this is another thing that happens to people. And I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you listen to him, but he was talking about all the comments that people make when you're on social media, and they can be negative. I think that most successful people have a couple people that are haters. You get to the top, and people want to pull you back down. They want to tell you that you can't do it. They want to say, hey, your success isn't really real. I mean, they have all sorts of fun things to say that are so counterintuitive to what we believe in our mind as we're going through that success growth. And so what do you say to your haters? What did you do instead
of
listening to that garbage? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. So it's different, right? Back in the day, we didn't have all the social media and all that kind of stuff, but you would still have people that would say stuff and discount what you accomplished or what you have done. So that's fine, but that's just motivation, And like you said, if you don't have haters, you're not doing it right? So
breakfast of champions.
But I love that I feed off that kind of stuff. Right? Some people just they can't. I mean, really, some people can't handle it. But but it's just like, I feed off it. That's
awesome.
It's just motivation, right? To for somebody to tell me I can't do something, and for me to know that I can. Oh, geez, come on.
Yeah, I love that. So just kind of give a little bit of highlight to our listeners. Your agent did support you in getting into international basketball. You went to Spain, you were in Australia, you were in France. And one of the things that I teach people how to do is how to expand their business across the country and into other countries. What do you think of working international? What do you think working internationally taught you?
Well, I think it's, coming from the NBA and then going to Europe, it was like mixing college basketball with the NBA, right? So you're playing professional basketball, but you have so many more responsibilities in the international, right? So there's 2 practices, there's weights, there's the language barrier, all those kind of things. And really, once you step foot in like when I was in Spain, there was no jet lag. It's just like, look, if you're not getting 15 points and 10 rebounds, we might not pay you next week, right? And so I learned that extremely quick, right?
That.
So it's just it's true. And so it's just understanding what you're getting into. And so and it's tough. I mean, there's different cultures and just understanding that, what people are saying. And so you really have to be a good listener. And it was just a whole different level. So Spain was, was out there, and I got hurt, and I came back, and I went to Australia, and I rehabbed, and then I went to France, and played over there, and played at a high level. So it's I loved it.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to do a little recap for our listeners because you hit on so many leadership lessons today and so many really life lessons. I love that you said that it's really about your foundation, that you need to make sure that your foundation is built correctly, that you're a worker. And I think that a lot of people forget that success requires really hard work. You're extremely disciplined. We heard you getting up at 5 a.m. and working out with whatever team you needed to work out with so that you could go back and be that great NBA player. You're a fantastic listener. You've developed your interpersonal skills. You're extremely personable. You don't want to take shortcuts when you're building success, and never disconnect from what it is that your dream is. And your dream was to play basketball, and you never disconnected. You always had a basketball in your hand, even if you were doing homework, and always to do your best work, because there might be that scout in the audience. So you covered a lot on the call. Is there anything else, or your greatest leadership lesson, or even the hardest lesson you've ever learned that you want to share with us, or anything else you want to add to our call today?
I just think really you have to believe in yourself, right? So, I mean, no one is going to look out for you more so than yourself, right? And not that you're not going to have people that support you and point you in the right direction, but, you have to believe in yourself, right? So, you know, if you don't believe in yourself and then take advantage of the opportunities that are put in front of you, you know, it's going to be tough, right? Regardless of what you're going to do, right? So I don't care if it's basketball, badminton. You know, I work in, you know, I'm in a completely different industry, and I have the same work ethic, and I still, you know, have my same routine, the same thought pattern. It's just it's not basketball, and
right.
But I still get the same enjoy, and I still find a way to compete.
That's awesome. Well, everybody, we've been talking to Reggie Smith today. I want to thank you, Reggie, so much for being on a call with me today. I know I had to squeeze myself into your schedule and push my way into your day-to-day activities, but I thank you so much for giving leadership lessons to people that are on their way to success. So thank you so much.
Thank you.